Artistic Gamer 7, and welcome back to another speed build here on the channel. This one is going to actually be in two parts, even after cutting out the stuff that I usually will tend to cut out, just so that the video doesn't get extremely long, unless I get lucky and it's a shorter build. But, you know, the bathrooms and doing, like, the wallpaper sometimes, and sometimes doing the layout with the walls, because eventually you see the layout as I'm doing everything else. I did cut a lot of that stuff out, but it still ended up being an extremely long video, and I hadn't, put in the screenshots at the time either. So this is going to be in two parts. This one probably is going to be just a little bit longer than the other one, so you can expect part 2 to not be quite as long, because I think at the current time being it is like around 28 minutes. I gotta add the screenshots, so it is gonna go probably into the 30 minutes, because there is quite a few screenshots, because there's a lot of rooms in this house. But basically, this house is actually a house that one of my friends chose out of like a group of houses, because like I have a bunch of houses saved on my phone that I use as inspiration, or at least I'm planning on using as inspiration. And this is the one that she picked out of all of them that she really liked. And so I'm basically calling it Jessie's dream home, because Jessie is the friend who chose this. This is the house that she would love to have in real life. So I built that house, which it was extremely hard, because I am trying to... Currently, this is one of the houses, some builds that I do won't go into my main save, but this is one of the houses that I'm wanting to move over into my main save. And a lot of the big lots are already taken, or I know that I have something in particular in mind that I need to use the big lots for, which this is a big lot, but the size of the, like, the way the house was built, I wanted it to be long-wise. I think this is like a 40 by 50 or whatever those one that's close to that. It's not the longest, and it's longer one way than it is the other way. But I wish the long end was facing, like, the street or whatever, but none of the lots that I had left were like that, except for, like, one or two of them, and they were in, worlds that I didn't want to... I wanted to build this in a world that was actually more, like, green and all that stuff, like, you know, Willow Creek here. But, yeah, with the location that I wanted this build to be in, because I was building it how I wanted it to look like when I put it into my main save. Obviously, you don't have to put it in Willow Creek if you don't want to. You can even put it on a 64 by 64 lot anywhere you want if you wanted it on a bigger lot to add stuff along the outside of it. But this was built for a, again, I can't remember the size of it, but it's basically like one of the next size downs from the 64 by 64. But anyway, so as you can tell, I'm struggling a lot with the roofs. The shape of this house, the picture I went on, I only see the front. So a lot of the back I had to do on my own, but I also wanted to try to make it match up with how the front looks. And like, I try to imagine if I seen this house in real life, if I went to this house in real life, what would the back look like? Because the back and the front are going to slightly correspond. Yeah, they're going to be different, obviously, but they're going to look, you know, they got to look like they're part of the same house. It's not like you go to the back and it's like completely different. But building the roofs on this house the way that I was trying to get them to look, and because of the fact that the house had some angled parts to it, made this, like, putting roofs on it so extremely hard. Like, you can tell I'm, like, fidgeting with the roofs over and over again to try to get it the way that I want. The layout of the house also was a little bit struggling at one point. I do have some columns here on the outside because I wanted the upstairs to, I fit, like, the upstairs section so that I can fix the roofs how I wanted them to. But I didn't want to necessarily do it to the lower section, so I decided to add columns to each side of the build. And I use bushes, because once I raise it off the foundation a little bit, because that little, like, it's sort of like a balcony porch area that you see right in that little gap section there. I wanted it to be slightly off of the floor, because I didn't want it to be completely unlined with the garden that well, like a little flower bed that I eventually put out there. And I may raise it up a little bit more because I think I do use stairs eventually to get to the front door, because I also didn't want Sims to try to walk through the flower bed and get up on that balcony way immediately. I was trying to avoid, which I don't know if they'll walk through flowers and stuff like that, but you know, I couldn't remember off the top of my head if they would, if they wanted to. I didn't basically want them going into that door. So I wanted them to know that that red door that I've already placed, that's the front door. That's the door you walk into, not the one at the balcony. But, so yeah, I raised it because of that reasons. I end up, and they stay attached to the house. I end up using, like, the big giant round bushes to put down at the bottom of the columns. There they are. So you can't see that I actually have those columns raised off the ground. It just looks like there's a plant growing around it and the column goes all the way down because you use your imagination. So, but yeah, and the picture that I was using, it had like this little pond thing out in the front of it, and when I seen that there was the picture that she picked, and like it's like down level with the street and it looks like the house has like a slight hill going up to it. That's why I'm fooling with the terrain tools a little bit. Plus, I don't use the terrain tools a lot, partially because I feel like with the way the worlds are currently, the terrain tools don't always naturally blend with the surroundings, which I've mentioned that in a few different builds before, but I do like trying to experiment with the terrain tools when I can. So that's why I'm fooling with the terrain tools, and I had, since this thing had like a pond in front of it with rocks around it, the little pond that you can put like koi fish and I think like sharks, I believe, like the small sharks. I think there's a few different aquatic creatures you can put in there, but the thing that came with Get Famous, I was like, that is perfect for that. That is great. I am definitely going to be using that for this. So, which, as you can already tell, I've already placed it. I started putting some rocks around it, trying to make it look a little bit more rocky, but also because where I fooled with the terrain tools, the thing, you can see slightly under it in certain sections, so I'm trying to place different rocks. I'm also planning on placing flowers around it as well, but I wanted as many rocks around it to still try to make it blend into the flowers, and also so that you couldn't really see under it too well. I hope putting the rocks that way doesn't mean the Sims can't interact with it. I actually did download a build off of the gallery before that they had done some rocks and some things around this, and the way that it was structured, the Sims couldn't get it, and I just had to move it ever so slightly. It didn't really do too big of a difference. I just had to move the rocks in the very front of it just a little bit, and it worked out just fine. So, and I didn't test this beforehand. I probably should have, because I eventually did have to move a Sim in here to do a few things that I was planning. But yeah, just know that I did not test that, and if you do, you probably just have to move some rocks away from the front. But right now, I am basically planting the ground. The one that I was using the picture off of, you can definitely tell that they had just either recently done the landscaping on the picture or they keep mulch in there. So that's why I went and I started going around and painting with this, so it's like fresh dirt or mulch or whatever it may be, and they just keep it that way. And that's where basically the flowers are going to be. I did do quite a bit of landscaping with the flowers, and eventually I put like these rows of flowers around the edges of where the walkway meets the flower beds. I do get rid of those for the most part. I think I only leave them on the very outer edges of the two side ones, because I decided it ended up being too much, and I wanted it to look like, you can obviously tell that technically they were planted, but also more semi-natural, like, you know, they just sort of threw the seeds, sort of had a similar idea, but more organic looking a little bit. So I do get rid of those. You'll see me placing them eventually, but I do actually I do get rid of most of them because I decided I didn't like the way that it really looked. But the landscaping takes me quite a bit, and I did speed up this video just a little bit more than I usually do. So again, that was like me just trying to save as much time as I possibly could on it. So just, you know, it took me a while to do this build. I think, of course, you know, sometimes I have a habit of, like, if I have to go use the bathroom, or if I think I'm just going to go get a snack or something like that, I'll leave the recording running and I'll go do whatever it is, and sometimes I get sidetracked when I leave my room, whether it be a distraction by my cat, or like something pops up and I have to take a phone call or something like that, and I forget that have the record button on. So a lot of it, like, there was probably at least 3 or 4 hours that I cut out of it where it was just me either zoning into music, or I left the screen, like left the recording for a while or something like that. But altogether, once it came in, it popped up at 15 hours and some minutes. Like I said, 3 or 4 hours of those was nothing was going on, but a lot of it was stuff going on, and I had to cut out not like quite a bit, but, well, I mean, I did cut out quite a bit because it was a lot of the dead spaces, and there was moments where I was watching TV and, like, I just zoned out, and it was like a minute or two of zoning out here and there. But I did cut out most of the bathrooms except for the master, because, again, my reasoning with that is bathrooms are bathrooms. They're probably the least exciting thing. There is sirens going on in my voiceover. I talk louder than you. Anyway, the bathrooms, to me, they're bathrooms. Bathrooms are a little bit more boring. I don't see them as, like, you know, something that really necessarily needs to be shown, and it's some of my least favorite parts when watching a build, and it's also usually parts that I'm not too concerned about, because, again, it's a bathroom. A bathroom's a bathroom. You need it to use it, and that's a basic it. And usually most of the bathrooms throughout a house look similar enough that they don't vary dramatically, except for the master. So that's why I keep the master in, and I take out the rest of the bathrooms. There is screenshots of the bathrooms, so in the second part, which is where the screenshots are going to be, you'll see all the bathrooms in the screenshots, but I don't include them in the video portion. I try, if I can ever leave them in, I do leave them in, but in cases like this, when the build is extremely huge, and I don't want it to be super long, and I don't want to try to split it up into too many parts, then I will cut them out. I believe I did cut out making the layout and most of the wallpapering. I do change some of the wallpapering as I go along and doing the furniture, because I change my mind. So I do cut out some of those things. I do cut out the lights, because, again, the lights, usually what I do is I'll actually go through and I'll put the lights first before I do anything else. After I do the layout, and then I go and do the lights. Even if it's just generic lights to start off with, I just put some so that, I can see what the wallpapering and stuff is going to look like, so I do cut those out as well. And plus, you almost never see the lights. Even sometimes in my screenshots, I don't get the lights because just the angle I decided to take the screenshots. And sometimes I just keep the little flat lights, because the flat lights are what gives off the best light out of some of them, and also just because you don't really see them too often. I'm like, yeah, even when you're playing Sims, it's like, yeah, they're not there. You don't really see them. The only time they're there is when your sim, like, you know, it turns to nighttime and you need lights, and then you can tell that you have lights that way. But, so, yeah, anyway. And it looks like at this point I'm starting to put the windows. I do start to put the windows, and then I think I stop at one point to finish the landscaping, because I realized I didn't do the landscaping around, like, the side of the house. Or I just decided that, you know, certain factors qualified in. But I will say, I think the door and some of the windows that I use, or majority of them, or maybe all of them, except for those round ones, are from Strangerville. Strangerville has ended up being a pack that I love a lot of the build items. Like, especially, like, the windows and the doors. I think they're so pretty. I love a lot of the build items. Some of the objects I really like, too, but, like, the actual, like, doors, windows, fences, those things on that sort of alignment of the build aspect of it, I love them. I haven't done too many builds, but I have already used them in almost every single build that I've done since then. And I'm realizing I probably should try to not use them, because I am starting to use them a lot. I just think they look so good, and I like the way they look. I like the colors that you get, and they're pretty. They're really, really, really pretty. I don't know if I'm one of the only people that really, really, really is obsessed with them or not, but I like them a lot. But anyway, so, yeah, and then here is the back, which it has a little pool. I mean, it's not a little pool, but it's not a huge pool, but it does have a pool, which is nice. It has like a little kids area, and also, you know, for like eating and stuff, and the balcony is connected to it, because not only my friend Jessie does have a sim in the game, and her sim already does have 2 kids, they're twins, but in real life she also has a kid, which one of the twins is based off of that kid that she actually has. So, this is gonna be like a family house. It has 3 bedrooms plus a master bedroom and such. So, you know, there's like little places for the adults to enjoy, but also for the kids to be there, and they're in close proximity, so, you know, the adults can be over here talking when there's like a get together, and the kids can be over there playing and having a good old time, but you also can see the kids where you're at. And there's also a few little sitting areas in like where the kids swings and all that stuff is. So if an adult wants to go over there and be closer to the kids as they're watching it, or if the kids just want to sit around and chat with each other themselves, the option is there. But there wasn't a whole lot of yard space after the house itself, because the house is a pretty sizable house. Just to go over the layout, since I can't remember if I actually cut it out or not. I think I did. In this video, you will get to see the... Oh, this swing set was driving me insane because I couldn't get it to sit flat, so I was playing with the train tools for a very, very long time trying to get this swing set to set flat on the ground, because I did make this section lower, so it's like a little tiny hill from the pool down to the swing set. But anyway, back to the layout of the house. So, with the layout of the house, you will get to see the furnishing of the entryway, the laundry room, the living room, the dining room, and the start of the kitchen. The part 2 will begin where I left off in the kitchen, and then do the rest of the house, plus show the screenshots. So definitely keep an eye out for part 2 so you can see that. But the bottom of the house, you have the entryway, which is where that red door is in the front, and on the like right side of it is going to be the laundry room. You enter directly into the living room. To get to the laundry room, you have to go through the living room though. But there is a laundry room beside that living room section, and then there is a hallway that is connected to the kitchen and the dining room, and there's an archway so that you can actually just walk straight from the kitchen into the dining room. And the hallway is also connected to the master bedroom, and then the staircase that leads upstairs. Now, with the master bedroom, it is sort of an odd shape because of where it's at. Not so much as the bath, but just where it's at. It's on the end where that balcony is, because that balcony is actually connected to the like, not the balcony, but like the little outside porch area that you can see from the front of the house. It is connected to the master bedroom. So it's like a little personal porch area for whoever is living in this house, that is like the mother or the father, or, you know, the couple, or whatever it may be, the main owner of the house, or owners. That is that little section for them. And then there's a master bath, which is obviously connected to the master bedroom. Now, the master bath is a pretty huge size bathroom. Partially because the way that I had to get it to lay out, it is a very, very awkward shape, and things are like sort of spread out. It is a very elongated bathroom because the way it is, and it's also got a sauna actually attached inside the master bath. I think it's a really nice bath, even though it is that awkward shape. Just the fact that there's a sauna in it alone is really, really nice. So I do like the master bath. It's one of my favorites that I've had, no matter the fact that it is a very awkward shape. Sometimes being a little odd and a little awkward is perfectly fine and is really, really nice, because it works out that way. So, yeah, I also am actually doing the furniture of the balcony up here, because since I did the outside, I just went ahead and did this outside balcony as well. Totally forgot about that until, you know, watching this video. Anyway, the main color schemes of the house is actually very, very resemblant of the colors that you see right here. So it's like these teals, cyans, reds, creams, like things along that nature. That is going to be the main color scheme of most of the house. The only variances is you won't see them until part 2, which is going to be the kids' bedrooms and the guest bedroom. So, That's going to be where the difference is. Now upstairs, the hallway goes up, and there's a hallway in the upstairs section that has one room that is the guest room. There is a gym room. There is the 2 kids' bedrooms, a study, and 2 bathrooms upstairs as well. Granted, if you had a large size family, you can easily change the gym, guest, or even the study into other bedrooms if you needed to, but for my purpose, I decided to do that, have those different rooms. Also because one of the Sims that is probably going to be living in this house is going to be within the military branch career, is what I am leaning towards, and I decided to give them a gym so that they can work out and such when they're at home. But, the fact that I mentioned the military, that's one of the reasons why I actually had to bring a Sim in. Normally, I just go in and build on the lots without a Sim here, but I figured out I was putting, like, the little display case for, like, the military badges, and I realized you have to have a Sim, actually, to be able to move those up in that display case, which is, I mean, I partially understand, because I think the Sims, I haven't got to fully explore the military branch just yet, but I'm pretty sure your Sims, you know, would earn those, and those would go into, like, their inventory. I just don't know if it'd go in their household inventory or their personal inventory. The way it seems, it may seem like it's the personal inventory type thing, and you have to be in, like, live mode to move them up there. But it was a little bit annoying, just because I had to go all the way out, move a Sim back in, go back in, and yeah, so anyway, that was some of the parts I also had to cut out, was just the fact that I was moving a Sim in, and I also decided that they were going to be into, like, archaeology type things as well, so then I had to get that same Sim to unclay some of the little, or take the dirt off of some of the little figures that you can get from the, show hidden objects cheat. So, I wish those would just come, like, you can get them without the dirt on them, but you cannot, or at least I couldn't find them, so I had to get her to get the dirt off of them so that I can put them in the display case, and the display case is also in the living room where this metal display is, because, like, I decided that, you know, this person is proud of the military background and proud of their accomplishments, so that's why this stuff is in the living room, so that, you know, they're there and they're a talking piece, and they can show friends and family, like, oh, hey, look at what I found when I went to the jungle last time, or, look, I just earned this medal, like, that sort of type thing, so that's, one thing I had to do, and then I didn't have to use the Sim anymore after the living room. I didn't need her anymore, but I stayed in live mode after that. I don't know if you ever see the Sim that I used, because I think I tried to cut out those parts, but she is bald, so if you do happen to see her at some point in time, don't mind her. It's because I took my CC out to build this. So, heh, 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 heh. Also, with this TV thing, I hate making the TVs block windows. I really don't like TVs blocking windows at all. I feel like a TV is also a very must. I'm a very, very huge advocate of having a TV in living rooms, and I am personally like them in my bedroom as well. So there definitely had to be a TV in this living room, but most of the wall TVs blocked the windows a certain way, because the way the windows was laid out, and just the way the room was laid out, I didn't want to put it, like, in the middle of the room somewhere. It wasn't making a lot of sense a lot of the places that it put it. And the fireplace I chose to use had that mirror thing on it, and then I was like, you know what, let me actually see what a TV looks like if I put it up on there and you block the mirror thing and you don't realize there's a mirror there. So that's what I did, and I actually really like it. It looks like, you know, it's just a fireplace that has, like, a little structure that's built up to frame a TV, basically. Now, the TV is a little bit bigger than that frame necessarily would be, but, you know, not every person's gonna go buy a TV that's gonna fit exactly in there, and sometimes you have a hard time finding TVs that fit exactly where you need to. My entertainment center is more structured for, like, sort of older style TVs versus newer ones. It works out for me because I'm able to set my TV up on a stand inside of it and put my gaming systems up underneath the TV. So it works out for me, but, you know, it is more structured for those more square box TVs that used to be out. So, you know, but I imagine, you know, they got this TV and they like the size of this TV, and it still fit on the mantle just perfectly fine. It just didn't fit down inside that section. But yeah, so the that was my whole reasoning behind TV. I feel like sometimes I take one thing and I explain it for way too long, and then other things I don't explain it for long enough. Oh well. It doesn't matter. I try, and sometimes I just end up talking for really long periods of time. In fact, I was planning on only talking a little bit in this video and a little bit in the next video, because I was gonna try to briefly go over what's going on in this one and then go over what's going on in the next one, in that one, but I already have almost talked for the whole entire video. It's about 10 minutes more that I have to talk, or something like that. But, doing math quickly on my head. That was the part that the metals, I realized the metals wouldn't go in there. So, the metals all of a sudden appearing in there, yeah, that was just me going out and getting a sim. A sim to be my little minion to put the metals in there. And I also put postcards on that little board. I seen that board all the time, and sometimes I use it for decorations. But it wasn't until, like, earlier on this year I realized what that board was technically for, and it was for those postcard type things. And I didn't realize that until, like, sometime this year, and I was like, what? So in this build, I actually decided to actually put postcards on it, and I was like, you know, that works out. And I think I don't leave this karaoke thing in there, because I was like, yeah, I don't like it. I don't like it. Like, filling up... Like I said, this build, the way it was structured, the inside layout was really hard to do. And even after I decided on a layout, actually trying to fill the rooms properly to where it looks like Sims could still walk around and completely use this as a functioning room. And also make it look good and look nice and full and lived in all at the same time. There was some awkward, hard parts to doing that, but in the end, I really love how it turned out, so it worked out in the end, but it was a bit of a struggle trying to get some things to fit the way that I wanted them to, but, you know, hey, it's okay, it's good, it worked in the end. And here's the artifacts that I had to uncover from all the dirt clumps. Also, does anyone notice a lot of the plants, when you try to put them in certain corners and things like that, they'll black themselves out? That one's doing it. It's not doing it as bad as I've seen some of them, but I ended up leaving it anyway. But it's sort of annoying that they'll do that, because, like, I'm like, most people put plants and stuff in the corners of stuff because it's, like, a section that you need to, like, it looks void, but you also need to put something in it. So, I was fooling with that for a bit here and there, but I wish they wouldn't do that. If there's a way around that, let me know. But as of right now, I don't know of a way that doesn't cause them to sort of black themselves out. But also with the rug, I haven't tested this house. Sometimes when there's something huge that I'm thinking about during the build that I think really needs to be checked out, I'll actually test it with a sim to see if everything works right and nothing goes wrong. But I forget sometimes the rugs will catch on fire when they're near a fireplace, so I'm really hoping that one's far enough away from the fireplace that it won't catch on fire. Just keep that in mind, that I haven't tested that out if you do go download this build. Talking about that, you can go and download this build on the gallery. It's going to be Jessie's Dream House. I will have the name of it down in the description along with my origin ID, which is ArtisticGamer7, in the video description if you ever forget what the build is called or what my origin ID is called as well. So it will be down there. Anytime that you have a certain build that you've seen on my channel that you want to go and download and add to your own game, it will be down in the description of the video so that you can go and download it for yourself. But anyways, here is the laundry room. It's a little tiny room, but this was one room that I was like, because I like having laundry rooms in my house. I like having laundry somehow attached in the house because I think it adds a little bit of realism to the game, and I'm someone who I like the mix of realism meets fantasy, because I feel like having a lot of realistic elements helps make that fantasy not too extreme. So, you know, I'm someone who really loves having vampires in my game, but I also really like having laundry in my game. So, but yeah, I always like trying to include laundry in it, and with the size of this house, I thought it would make sense that this house would probably have a separate laundry room all on its own to use, And after I did the layout of the house, this was the only section that I thought the laundry room really made sense in, because the rest of them, I would either had to shrink the rooms down way too much in, like, the upstairs section, or it would have just been awkward and all that stuff, because this could have probably been a bathroom, and if you don't have the laundry day stuff pack, is it a stuff pack? Yeah, it's a stuff pack. If you don't have that, this easily could be turned into another bathroom. Considering the size of this house actually doesn't have a whole lot of bathrooms. I think it's 4, and that is including the master, so there's only 3 bathrooms that are not the master. But there is a bathroom down on this lower section, which it's cut out of the video, but I don't remember if I do it. I think I finish it after the master bathroom, so you won't even briefly see it done at all, but it's in between the kitchen and the living room sections. But so yeah, you can turn that one into a bathroom if you want to, but because this is a pretty big house, and I did keep this house with family in mind, even like family coming over or whatever, so not so much just the family living here, but also family coming over. To me, I think that's just something I instinctively do, because I have 2 pretty large size families on each side, and we do a lot of times get together a lot in one house. We don't go and do things at other places. It's always at someone's house. So I think a lot of times I do keep that in mind, like, ooh, these Sims have quite a few family members. What if they all come over and they're all in the same place? So that was one of the things that I did slightly keep in mind. So I do try to make the table a little bit bigger than most of your Sim tables. So there's 2 tables combined here, and, you know, try to usually have quite a few bathrooms so that when one Sim's in the bathroom, there's still other bathrooms free, hopefully, somewhere. But this does have a little bit on the lower side of bathrooms. A lot of times with my big builds, I usually have as much bathrooms as I do bedrooms. So, you know, I mean, granted, I technically only have 3 official bedrooms, and there are 3 bathrooms, but there are 2 rooms that easily could be turned into bedrooms as well, and if that was the case, someone's gonna be fighting over some bathrooms if they all have to go at the same time. But oh well, there's a bush outside too, so, you know, if they have to go pee, they can go pee in the bush. I always like including one of those bushes. I don't know why, because there's so many weird interactions with those bushes that it's sort of funny to just make sure that they're on every lot. So, you know, usually most of the lots I build, unless they're like apartments or, you know, there's no ground level, like, you know, there's no grass or anything anywhere, those bushes are probably somewhere in my builds, just to let you know. But anyway, so we're getting to the end here, because right now I am finishing the dining room. Again, like I said, I am sticking with mostly the blues, like different shades of blues, reds, with tans and whites, so that does stay the main themes. Sometimes certain rooms have certain colors come out a little bit more. This one leans more towards the blues, the kitchen leans more towards browns and tans. The living room had a pretty good mix. I would say white maybe came out a little bit more in that one, but that one had a pretty good mix of all the colors. But those are the themes for the whole entire house. The master bedroom, which is not going to be until the next part, it is heavily on the blues, versus the gym is going to be more towards tans and reds, if I remember correctly. So yeah, but anyway, it is getting towards the end here. Remember, my information will be down in the description below, so if you want to go download this house, it should be up by the time this video is up, even though part 2 isn't out yet. But I definitely will try to make sure to get it up. All of my social media will be down in the description below as well, so if you want to go follow me on those. Also, my Sims 4 builds playlist, along with all of my other Sims 4 playlists, will be down in the description below too. So if you want to go check out any of my LPs, or if you know that you've missed some builds in the past, or you're new to the channel, or new to my videos, and you want to go see some of my past builds, those playlists will be down there, so that you can go and click them and view them for your viewing entertainment, and whatever that is. Make sure to keep an eye for part 2. Subscribe if you're not already, so that you can see part 2. It should be coming out the day or 2 after part 1 here. It will include the screenshots, and it also, of course, will include the finishing of the house and all the sections that are not in this video. So the master bedroom, master bath, the hallways, the gym, the guest room, the 2 kids' bedrooms, and the study. So definitely keep an eye out for that. As you can see here in the kitchen, I am doing something I hadn't tried before. I'll probably talk about that a little bit more in the next video, because the kitchen will be finished in the beginning of part 2 versus this part. But thank you so much for watching. Wasn't really planning on talking to the very end, but somehow this has happened. You know, hey, we're here. I hope you've enjoyed this build so far. I hope you're also really excited to see the finishing of it when part 2 comes out. But anyway, again, thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye!